Hi, welcome to the 4th episode of the series. Today, Glaives. We're looking to answer two questions. Which frame is the best for PvE, and how different they are to each other. Okay, let's take a look at them, and see where some of them can be found. First up, rapid fire frames. Finally, a legendary was added this season. Only one legendary in the game at the time of this recording, having the fastest reload and highest mag size. Hopefully we get more in the future. Second is the adaptive frames, the most common of the glaives, and they set a good foundation for the weapon type. We have a craftable in all light based elements in this frame, so it's easy to customize to what you want. And finally, aggressive frames. Again, only one legendary in the game right now. It's a heavier hitting and longer range frame, but does lose on mag size and reload speed. This one legendary is also craftable. Right, let's take a look at the differences. Let's start with some of the interesting numbers here. Here we can see that the reserves are not too far apart from each other. Aggressives have the highest, but only by a small amount. As well, they do take the single shot damage top spot too, even beating out the rapids by 27.5%. The ranges are also interesting, as their ranges are actually pretty tight across all three frames. Only just about a meter in difference from the shortest to the furthest reaching. But the tables turn when we start to look at the raw damage, which is what I call sustained damage if never needing to reload. Now, rapid fires are the most appealing with nearly a 15% lead. But to reiterate, this is if never needing to reload. So let's take a look at what happens when reloading is taken into account. Okay, so the standings stay the same, but the differences change. The adaptives catch up a bit, and the aggressives fall further behind. So depending on what you want the weapon for, can change which frame would be best suited. If needing a punchy glaive that hits hard, that carries a good amount of reserves and reloading is not an issue, aggressive look to be the strongest. If wanting one for lower tier enemies, and to bounce from one enemy to another, rapid fires look to be the better option. The adaptive frame is actually perfectly in the middle, not that far behind on damage, healthy mag size, great reserves, and single shot damage is only 10% behind the aggressives, whereas the rapid fire frames are 28% behind. Okay, so I did some testing on the melee damages with the frames to see if there was any difference to each other, and found that there's no differences between the frames at all, on melee speed and on the amount of damage in which they do. But I did find out the data of glaive melees and put them up against uncharged melees, and this is what I found. Uncharged melees can be performed 60 times a minute, so we say 60 RPM, and glaive melees can be performed 100 times a minute, let's say 100 RPM, so a healthy jump in the melee speed using a glaive. Now looking at the single melee damage, glaives do 87% more damage on melee. So when we combine these two factors together, just like the rest of the data that we collect, combining the melee speed and damage, it works out at an additional 211% higher sustained damage, which is amazing. I normally don't mention exotics in the series, but just so that people know, the Hunter exotic glaive, the Edge of Concurrence, is a rapid fire, and so is the Vex Caliber. The Titan exotic glaive, Edge of Action, is an adaptive, and the Warlock exotic glaive, Edge of Intent, is an aggressive frame. Okay, so what am I thinking to do with this information? Looking at the data, glaives are in a weird spot. They have a little longer range by about 1 or 2 meters compared to the fusions, but put out half the amount of damage as a fusion rifle. From what I see, glaives have a lesser damage to compensate for their utility, with their insane damage reduction from their blocking, but big time make up for it in their melee boost that they get. If wanting a special weapon for medium range, I'd easily pick a fusion rifle over a glaive. But if there's no issue getting up close, then glaives have a lot of utility, making up for what it lacks in the projectile damage. So if having to pick a glaive, although the rapids and the aggressives are really good at their niches, personally I'd go for the adaptives. Not only a larger selection to choose from, but being so close to the highest reserves, sustained is still really good. It makes it very versatile. There's no kinetic stasis or strand glaives yet, so let's take a look at the energy slot. Lubre's Rune is probably going to be my new favourite, with honourable mentions of the Ecliptic Distaff, with it being able to get close to melee perk. Lubrays being able to get Grave Robber and Swashbuckler together make it a force to be reckoned with. Right, over to you. What do you think of the results? Do you use a Glaive much? And is there a perk combo that you like on them? Let me know in the comments section below, as I'm really curious on what other people are using. If you're new here, this is the second series looking into the differences between the frames. This season covering special weapons. The last season was covering primary weapons, so if you want to know about them, you can find them in the channel and on the playlist there. Thank you so much for watching, and if you could drop a like or a comment on the video, it goes a long way to support the channel. So that's it for me this week, so I'll catch you all next week, and a reminder, never let your tea go cold.